Money plays a significant role in determining how good our lives are, whether we like to think about it or not. It's kind of surprising that schools don't really teach us much about managing money, considering how important it is. Usually, if you hear a lot about money at home, it's because your parents are rich. This post is all about the important money lessons that rich parents teach their kids. The goal here is not only to learn these lessons ourselves, but also to pass them on to our own children someday. It's like what Bruce Lee said, instead of just buying your kids everything they want, it's better to teach them the things you wish you had learned. Material things might wear out or lose their value, but knowledge lasts a lifetime. So here are the 17 lessons rich parents teach their children that the poor don't. Lesson 1. Rich parents teach their kids about how money works. Understanding money is important for everyone, but not everyone thinks about it deeply. Some people wonder, how do we actually make money? Why do I get paid a certain amount? What decides how much money I make? How do taxes fit into this? Can I manage my money better? What do I need to do to improve my financial situation? In families with wealth, parents often start teaching their kids about money early on. They talk about how money is earned by working and how it's used to pay for things like groceries and bills. Kids in these families learn quickly that money isn't easy to come by. But in families struggling with money, it's often kept secret. Kids might not know how much their parents make or how they spend it. They might only hear about money when their parents argue about not having enough. This can make money seem like a negative thing to them. Lesson 2. Creating daily habits for long-term advantages. Teaching your child how to build good habits is super important. Habits are like magic tricks that make your life better. It usually takes about 21 days to make a new habit stick, but once you do, it becomes part of who you are. For example, if you don't read much but want to, you can turn reading into a habit. Same goes for getting fit. If you struggle to find motivation for the gym, turn it into a habit, and soon it'll feel like second nature. The same goes for work. Organizing and streamlining your tasks can free up a lot of time for other stuff. Rich people often use the power of habit to succeed, while those who struggle financially often have habits that hold them back. Your habits can either build you up or tear you down. So be mindful of the habits you teach your child, because they learn more from what you do than what you say. Lesson 3. Seeing money as a tool, not the root of evil. You've probably heard the phrase, money is the root of all evil, a lot, right? Now think about who said it. How well off were they? How happy did they seem? Often people who don't have much money blame their problems on it and see money as something negative. Even when they get some money, it just seems to bring more problems they don't know how to handle. But rich folks see money differently. They know it's just a tool to help them in life. It's like paper and plastic with pictures on them that we trade for things we need or want. So stop getting so worked up about money and use it to improve your life. It's a bit like scissors. You can use them to cut hair or hurt yourself. It's puzzling why some people choose the second option. When you see money as a tool, everything changes and you stop hurting yourself with it. Lesson 4. Focusing on increasing income rather than lowering expenses. One of the most important things parents can teach their kids is how to make more money. Surprisingly, it takes the same amount of effort to barely get by as it does to become really wealthy. The big difference is how you go about it and what you know about money. The smarter you are about money, the less hard work you need to do to get ahead. That's why Wall Street brokers who know a lot about money earn much more than miners, even though miners might work harder physically. Poor people often focus on cutting their spending as much as possible, sometimes making life feel really tough. But do you think rich people worry about spending a few dollars on coffee or going to a movie? Nope. They focus on finding ways to make more money instead. When you boost how much money you bring in by a lot, there's usually plenty left over at the end of the month. Poor families teach their kids to save money by spending less, while rich families teach their kids how to make more money. It's a big difference. If you combine this with another lesson about money, you'll be really good at managing your money. Lesson 5. Valuing knowledge over money in the long run. There's another saying we heard a lot when we were starting out. Invest in yourself, it pays the best dividends. Seems simple, right? But it's not just about going to school or reading books. It's about making yourself more valuable to the world. The world likes to reward people who are valuable because they can make things better for others. And in return, they can get what they want. Poor families don't always teach their kids this concept, but some wealthy ones do, and those kids often have a better chance at success and happiness. There are lots of ways to become valuable, like having a job where you do important tasks, making something that people need, or showing off your talents. The more valuable you are, the more money you can make. The only way to become more valuable is to learn more, get better at what you do, and keep doing it until you see big improvements. It takes a lot of time, about 10,000 hours, to become a master at something. That's why rich families often have their kids try lots of activities when they're young, so they can get a head start on those hours. If you have knowledge and skills, you'll always be able to make money because you're valuable to the world. But sometimes knowledge can be really expensive to get. Lesson 6, making money work for them, not the other way around. This is the key to becoming wealthy. You can read lots of books, attend classes, or get fancy degrees, but it all boils down to this. Poor people trade their time for money, then spend it. But rich people use the money they earn to make even more money. They have different ways of dealing with money. Many people stay poor because they think you need a lot of money to invest, otherwise it's not worth it. But rich folks are always on the lookout for small ways to make passive income, because it's not just about how much you have, but also about having time for other things. These days, you can start a business with less than $100 if you know what you're doing, or even for free if you're willing to put in the time. Once you start making money, you can use it to hire someone to handle the day-to-day stuff while you focus on growing the business. Understanding how to make money work for you and generate more money is the foundation of building wealth. Whenever someone asks us what's the first book to read if they want to be rich, we always recommend Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's the first book that really changed how we thought about money when we were starting out. It's been translated into many languages, so you can find it almost anywhere. If you haven't read it yet, we strongly suggest picking it up soon. Lesson 7. Solving problems is the quickest way to wealth. Here's a simple way to understand what the rich teach their kids about making money. Poor people often get paid for doing simple tasks, like delivering newspapers or washing cars, jobs where you do the same thing over and over again. But the rich don't do repetitive work because they can hire others to do it for them. Instead, they focus on solving big problems. The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you can make. That's why delivering newspapers turned into creating content websites. It's the same idea but with less effort. Answering phones turned into automated messaging, and even Google now has AI that can do the job of receptionists. Now let's look at 3 famous modern entrepreneurs: Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos. They all became super rich by solving big problems for humanity and creating products and services to help with that. People are willing to pay money to have their problems solved. Teach your kids this, and they'll be well on their way to success. Lesson 8. Not wasting time on things with no real-world correlation. Let's talk about some hard truths. Degrees in subjects like ethnic studies or gender studies, as well as majors in journalism, film and media, history or fine arts, might not seem very valuable to employers. In fact, we think the whole education system is kind of messed up right now. It's still teaching the same stuff that made sense a long time ago, without much thought for the future. You could end up in a ton of debt for skills that don't directly match the jobs available when you graduate. Plus, if you're really passionate about any of these subjects and put in the effort to master them, you might have a better chance of success on your own anyway. Think about it. We're loaning money we don't even have to students who might never be able to pay it back, all for jobs that don't even exist anymore. That's pretty crazy, right? But unfortunately, it's what we've been doing for the last 40 years. Lesson 9. Knowing how to use good debt instead of bad debt. Let's talk about 2 kinds of debt: bad debt and good debt. Did your parents ever talk to you about this? Probably not, but it's something rich people have known for a long time. Understanding the difference can help you get rich faster, because other people and institutions are more likely to help you out. Here's the deal. Poor folks often borrow money to buy things that don't make them any richer, like fancy cars or phones. But rich folks only borrow money if it helps them make even more money. Banks and investors love lending money for projects like this, as long as you can explain how you'll use the money wisely and pay it back. Think about skyscrapers. They're not paid for out of someone's pocket, but with borrowed money. The bank trusts that you'll make money from the building, either by selling it or renting it out, and they're willing to take a chance on you. You just need to show them that you know what you're doing and have a track record of success. Lesson 10. Knowing the difference between assets and liabilities. Let's break it down in simple terms. Poor people often don't know the difference between a good buy and a bad buy. When they earn money, they tend to spend it all, which keeps them poor. Here's the deal. An asset makes you money, while a liability costs you money. The problem is, poor folks don't always realize what counts as a liability. For example, the car you drive and the house you live in, they're both liabilities because they don't make you any money, but they still cost you money to keep running. The same goes for your fancy phone, clothes, TV, and anything else you bought without really thinking about it. Now, rich people, they put all their time and money into getting more assets, like buying an apartment that brings in rent, writing a book that earns royalties, or investing in a successful business. But you might wonder, don't rich people have fancy cars and houses? Well, yes, they do, but listen closely because this is super important. The assets pay for the luxuries. Rich folks never buy luxuries with their own earnings. Want a fancy car? Then first figure out how to buy 2 apartments and use the rent from them to pay for leasing the car. That way, even when you get rid of the car, you still have money coming in. This is a big difference in how they handle money. When you start making money, focus on buying assets instead of spending it all. Lesson 11. Understanding they are not entitled to anything. The rich understand that if they don't keep up their game, they could lose everything. But the poor often rely on others to take care of them. Sure, being born into a wealthy family has perks. You get better stuff and don't have to worry about basic needs. But it also means there's a lot more at stake. You have more to lose if things go wrong, so the pressure is always on. It's crucial for wealthy families to teach their kids that even though they start ahead, they still need to work hard and grow. Success isn't guaranteed just because they have money. Family fortunes can crumble by the 3rd generation if children feel entitled. First, there's someone who works really hard to build wealth. Then their kids think they just need to maintain it. Finally, by the 3rd generation, they feel entitled to success without putting in the work, and they often waste it all. Teaching your kids the lessons from this video can help you avoid this kind of downfall. Lesson 12. Taking control and being responsible for your personal success. Kids from wealthy families learn to take responsibility for their actions and deal with the consequences, even when things don't go as planned. They accept that they're in charge of their own lives and find ways to move forward, no matter what happens. On the other hand, kids from poor families often get into the habit of complaining and blaming others for their financial problems. This stops them from seeing how they can make things better and reach their goals. Lesson 13. An abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Rich parents believe in abundance and teach their kids that the world is full of endless possibilities and opportunities. They encourage their children to pursue their dreams and goals with confidence, knowing that there's enough success and wealth for everyone. They understand that if they provide great value, they deserve to be compensated accordingly. On the other hand, poor parents often have a scarcity mindset. They teach their children to believe that there's only a limited amount of success or resources to go around. They may pressure their kids to always strive to be the best, implying that in order for one person to succeed, others must fail. This mindset also leads to the belief that money is scarce. So if someone earns more, there's less for everyone else. Poor families may work hard, but feel guilty about asking for more money, believing that it's selfish or wrong to want more when resources are limited. Lesson 14. Learning to be sociable and connect with others. Having good social skills is super important. But surprisingly, not everyone realizes it. Successful people start teaching their kids how to socialize even before they turn 4 years old. Seriously, here's why it's so crucial. When your child learns to socialize early, other kids will want to play with them. When they get along well with other kids, their parents will be happy to have them around. This sets off a chain reaction that can last a lifetime. If people like you and enjoy being around you, it opens up all sorts of opportunities. Teachers will treat you better. You'll have access to better jobs, and you'll make great friends. So early socialization is like planting a seed that grows into a tree full of benefits. We learn this from Dr. Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. Lesson 15, avoiding magical thinking and expecting immediate results. We're living in a world where everything seems instant. Want to watch a movie? Just hop on Netflix. Feeling hungry? Drive-through or delivery it is. Looking for a date? Swipe right on Tinder. But here's the thing, wealth and happiness don't work like that. Poor folks often hope to get rich quick, maybe by winning a big prize or inheriting property, believing it'll magically fix everything. But here's the kicker. Even if they suddenly came into a lot of money, they might not know how to handle it wisely and end up blowing it all. Rich parents make sure their kids understand the importance of playing the long game. Thinking ahead is one of the key differences between rich and poor. Here's something cool we found out. If you start thinking about life in bigger chunks of time, like 5, 10, or 20 years, you can make incredible progress. There's this awesome quote from Bill Gates where he said, "Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So instead of just thinking about the next year, why not plan for the next decade? Maybe this time, you'll really make some big changes happen." Lesson 16. Understanding the 80-20 rule for maximum efficiency. Guess what? Rich parents don't push their kids to be top of the class. Surprising, right? It's all about something called the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle or Pareto distribution. This rule says that 80% of results come from just 20% of efforts. In business, it means 80% of profits come from 20% of customers, and 20% of workers do 80% of the work. This rule applies to almost everything in life. So why don't rich parents push for top grades? Because it takes a ton of time and effort to improve just a little bit. You'd have to work super hard, leaving little time for real-life experiences. There's more to learn from trying things out in the real world than studying all night just to bump your test score by 5 or 10%. We first heard about the 80-20 rule in Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, and we've been using it ever since. There's another book called The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch that dives even deeper into this concept. It's pretty awesome. Lesson 17. Realizing that having money doesn't make you a better person. Hold on to your hats, because here's a surprise. Rich kids aren't always the stuck-up, snobby types you might imagine. Unless they inherited their wealth, they likely worked hard to get where they are. On the journey to success, being humble is super important, and most wealthy folks actually are pretty humble. They remember where they started and value treating others with respect. These values stick around for a reason. Humility and respect are some of the first things rich parents teach their kids because they know what it's like to be on the other side. Having money or being successful shouldn't make you feel ashamed. It's something to be proud of. But here's a lesson that many people learn too late. Money can buy comfort for your body, but it can't ease your mind and soul. Now here's a question for you. What's a lesson your parents taught you that really helped you in life? We'd love to hear about it in the comments, and we promise we'll read them all. Plus, stick around for a bonus fact at the end. Lesson 18. To raise their expectations. If you want your kid to have a better life than yours, teach them not to settle and to aim high. Some folks say happiness comes from having low expectations and meeting them. But when it comes to money, raising your expectations and reaching for big goals is the key. Most people settle for average and avoid taking big risks for big rewards. Sure, the competition is tough at the top, but there are fewer players there. Think about it. Would you rather set low expectations and meet them, or aim high and maybe fall short? In the long run, aiming high pays off better. Now, if you've stuck with us this far, use the word risk in your answer to today's question to keep things interesting. Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. We've also picked out some videos for you to watch next. Thanks again, and we'll see you tomorrow.